Water, the source of life, but also, if we're not careful, the source of some serious health problems. Imagine, in what seems like a refreshing glass of water, hidden dangers like parasites and bacteria are waiting to strike. Today, we're diving into the darker side of water, where invisible threats live and thrive. We're talking about the infectious agents that turn something as simple drinking water into a potential health hazard. So buckle up as we explore the five of these waterborne villains and the havoc they wreak in our bodies. So let's get started with the first culprit. The first is amoebiasis. It is a gastrointestinal infection caused by a parasite Entamoeba histolica. This infection can remain latent in a person for several years, with or without symptoms. It's estimated that 50 million people are infected with this parasite worldwide, and sadly, around 70,000 deaths occur each year, mostly due to liver abscesses and complications. This infection is most common in warmer areas, largely due to poor hygiene and ability of parasitic cysts to survive longer in most moist, warm conditions. It's crucial to improve sanitation and hygiene practices, especially in these areas, to reduce infection rates. Next, we have Cryptosporidium parvum, which causes cryptosporidiasis, a diarrheal disease. This microscopic parasite can infect both humans and animals and is spread through contaminated water. It is one of the leading causes of waterborne diseases, responsible for the 50.8% of waterborne diseases attributed to parasites, especially in developing countries. The infection is acute but can have severe effects, particularly on children between 1 to 9 years old. In developing regions, around 8 to 19% of diarrheal diseases are caused by Cryptosporidium, emphasizing the need for clean water sources and better sanitation to prevent the outbreaks. Next is cyclosporiasis. It is caused by the parasite Cyclosporochiatinensis. This is an intestinal infection, primarily spread through the fecal contaminated water or contaminated fresh produce. Cyclosporiasis was once thought to be mostly endemic to tropical and subtropical regions, but cases are now appearing more frequently in North America. Symptoms often include watery diarrhea, cramping, and fatigue. It may persist if not properly treated. Prevention involves ensuring food and water are properly handled and cleaned before consumption. Next is schistosomiasis, also known as snail fever or bilharzia. It is caused by the parasitic flatworms called schistosomes. These parasites infect the urinary tract or the intestines, causing a range of symptoms. It is primarily found in tropical countries such as Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. An estimated of 238 million people are affected worldwide, with around 600 million people at risk. The disease can have severe consequences, especially in children under 14 years old. Controlling this disease requires improving water quality in rural and agricultural areas, where infection rates are the highest. Lastly, we have Dracunculus medinensis, the parasite that causes dracunculiasis, also known as the guinea worm disease or GWD. People become infected by drinking water that contains water fleas infected with guinea worm larvae. Once inside the body, the larva grows and causes painful infections. In the past, 3.5 million cases were reported in 20 countries, but due to improved public health efforts, the number of cases has drastically decreased to less than 542 cases in 2012, with the disease now only found in 4 African nations. This shows the effectiveness of public health initiatives and safe drinking water programs in eradicating the disease. So, as a recap on our discussion, first we have the amoebiasis. It is caused by the Entamoeba histolytica. Second, we have the cryptosporidiasis. It is caused by Cryptosporidium parvum. Third is cyclosporiasis. It is caused by Cyclospora cayetanensis. Fourth is the schistomiasis, or known as snail fever or the bilharzia. It is caused by schistosomes or schistosoma. Lastly, we have the dracunculiasis, or known as guinea worm disease, the GWD. It is caused by the Cunculus medinensis. And oh no, it's not just 5. There are 11 culprits. So let's continue to explore with my partner Michelle Dayo.
Thank you, Dean. Now let us continue with the 6th culprit, which is the Papsiolopsis buski, or the disease name Papsiolopsiasis. So it is an intestinal fluke. So what are intestinal flukes? Intestinal flukes are parasitic flatworms that infect various parts of the body depending on the species, and is usually acquired by eating uncooked or undercooked aquatic plants. So Papsiolopsis buski is endemic in Asia, including China, Taiwan, Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia and Malaysia, and as well as India. It has a prevalence of up to 16% in India and mainland China, and has an estimate of 10 million human infections. Infections occur mostly often on school-aged children or in impoverished areas with a lack of proper sanitation. So, our next culprit is the Echinococcus granulosus, or its disease name being Echinococcosis, which is an infection that is caused by parasites, namely tapeworms, of the Echinococcus genus. So there are various types of the Echinococcus, 2 main types being the cystic Echinococcus and the alveolar Echinococcus, which are transmitted through ingestion of parasite eggs in contaminated water, soil, food, or after direct contact with animal hosts. So the disease often starts without symptoms and may last for years. So, areas of the world where there is a high rate of infection often coincide with rural grazing areas, where dogs are able to ingest organs from infected animals. Next is the Enterobius vermicularis, or the disease name Enterobiasis. So it is one of the most common parasitic worm infections in the developed world and is spread by swallowing or inhaling the tiny eggs of the pinworm. Enterobiasis rarely causes any serious physical problems except for the main symptom, which is severe rectal itching. So pinworms are particularly common in children, with prevalence rates in this age range having been reported as high as 61% in India, 50% in England, 39% in Thailand, 30% in Sweden, and 29% in Denmark. Now let us move on to Vibrio cholerae, or the disease name cholera. Vibrio cholerae is a gram-negative comma-shaped bacterium, so unlike the previous infectious agents, Vibrio cholerae is not a parasite. So the bacterium's natural habitat is brackish or salt water, where they attach themselves easily to the chitin-containing shells of crabs, shrimps, and other shellfish. So cholera affects an estimate of 3 to 5 million people worldwide and causes 58,000 to 130,000 deaths a year as of 2010. This occurs mainly in the developing world. Cholera remains both an epidemic and endemic in many areas of the world. Now let us move on to Shigella dysentery, or the disease name dysentery. Dysentery is also a disease caused by a bacterium called Shigella bacillus, an inflammatory disorder of the intestine, especially in the colon, that results in severe diarrhea containing blood and mucus in the feces, which symptoms include fever, abdominal pain, and rectal tenesmus, a feeling of incomplete defecation. So without adequate hydration, dysentery can be fatal. Lastly, we have genus Leptospira, or the disease leptospirosis. So leptospirosis is a blood infection caused by the bacteria Leptospira. Signs and symptoms can range from none to mild to severe. So annual rates of infection vary from 0.02 per 100,000 in temperate climates to 10 to 100 per 100,000 in tropical climates. This leads to a lower number of registered cases than likely exist. However, it doesn't end in infectious agents. We also have toxic agents present in bodies of water, but before we get familiar with these agents, let us first have a quick refresher. Now let me take you to the toxic agents present in water, and number one is pesticides. And these pesticides include insecticides, fungicides, rodenticides, and herbicides present in water primarily as a result of vector control effects, crop spraying, agricultural runoff, and spills. So pesticides can cause dizziness and convulsions, death by either cardiac or respiratory arrest, and species abnormality or alterations, just like tetratogenic effects and mutations, muscular tenseness, paralysis, and coma. And number two are chlorinated solvents, and it is due to industrial pollution and used for chemical degreasing, machine maintenance, and as intermediaries in manufacture of other chemicals. And chlorinated solvents can cause cancer. Another toxic agents are trihalomethanes, and it is produced by chemical reactions in water that has been disinfected with chlorine. So it can cause bladder and colorectal cancers, heart, lung, kidney, liver, and the central nervous system damage, reproductive problems and miscarriage, and possibly cancer. But wait, there's more! Toxic agents that we should be wary of doesn't end in three. Let Dean further guide you in this journey.
Thank you, Michelle. So let's continue with the fourth toxic agent in water, which is the lead. Lead contamination occurs mostly due to old piping and solder in public water distribution system or older buildings. Lead poisoning can cause several long-term health effects, particularly in children, including nerve problems, learning disabilities, birth defects, and possibly cancer. So what can we do to solve this problem? Hey, I think we should update the aging manufacture to prevent exposure to lead. Next is PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls. PCBs are toxic chemicals that come from the waste of outmoded manufacturing. These chemicals pose severe health risks, causing liver damage or possibly cancer. So strict regulations on industrial waste disposal are crucial in keeping these dangerous substances out of our water. Next is radionuclides, such as uranium, radon, and radium. These can naturally occur in groundwater or can be released due to the leaching from rock deposits. These radioactive elements are proven carcinogens, meaning they can lead to various forms of cancer, including bone, head, and nasal tumors. Next is selenium, a byproduct of copper mining. It can also be found in groundwater. While selenium is essential in small quantities, too much can cause central nervous system damage and fatigue and irritability. It can also change to hair and fingernails. In extreme cases, selenium toxicity can be fatal.
say yeah every